All right, we'll try again. Sure, I'll just do it. Is it recording?
Night.
All right. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Frankie Slauson here with a special Renegade Radio exclusive interview live from the Cozy Bar, Carol's Cozy Bar and Cafe, right in this small little town of Brooks. I live right next door, and it's hunting time, and I figure since one of my original crew members comes here for hunting all the time, or hunts around the area, this would be a good opportunity to finally do an exclusive interview with this gentleman. He's one of my original crew members. He's been on my show since October, or since Halloween of last year, 2023. And while he hasn't been on every episode, but he's been on probably half, I'd say.
I missed like 3 or 4.
But you probably been at least on half. I mean, probably more than half, at least.
Sometimes work gets caught up.
Been very committed anyway, which I'm surprised. And he's the reason why we're on the Grand Forks Best Source server as well, which has really been very helpful as far as the Saturdays go, depending on the size of the guests and everything we got going on. We normally do pretty good, and it's all because of this guy mostly, and his assistant Paul.
Well, it's pretty cool because how I had heard of you before I met you because of social media stuff, and I don't remember where I met you the first time.
That was at Little Bobby's during the Michael Twitty event.
And I believe I think I approached you, if I remember.
Yeah,
right?
You did, because I
was blown away that I knew who you were, and I'm like, oh, and then fast forward a couple of years, and now, now you're Renegade Radio. We're playing it, on GFBS, and it's kind of cool how that all comes around.
Yeah. Well, when we first met, I knew that we were friends on Facebook, which I'm still not sure how we became friends on Facebook. I don't know.
One media guy to another.
Well, maybe.
Because we kind of both had the same paths, just years apart for absolutely, quite a while. Both, going to radio and television school and and going into radio. And it was a lot different because it was so much earlier when I did it, when radio was more relevant. When people relied on the radio. If there's a blizzard coming, you listen to the radio. There was no, internet. There was none of that stuff, and so you had to go to work, and there was no voice tracking. If there was somebody on the radio, they were there.
Yeah.
And nowadays, my last days of radio a few years back, I could record 2 weeks worth of shows in a day and take 2 weeks off, and most of the time you wouldn't even know that I'm not live.
Yeah,
it's just changed that much.
Which is weird because that technology, but then the technology kind of ruined some things too. But we'll get into that a little bit later here because this is Jon Roberts. He and I, we definitely go way back a few years. It's weird how, like I was saying, how we met because we met at Little Bobby's, and as I've told you the story, I always, when you came up to me and said who you were and everything, I didn't know you from Adam because I assumed you were just like any other radio guy, like, oh, it's nice to meet you, but screw you, type of thing, kind of thing. It's happy to meet you, but it's like, because I've had that experience before in the past where a certain individual, who's blind and they call it a dog or whatever, getting those type of ego type of trips. But I mean, after I got to meet you and everything, then I realized that I think I looked you up a little bit on Facebook and seen that you've done a lot of things. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, and I tell people because what you just said to me, Frankie, a lot of people do and say, "Gosh, I figured you'd be more stuck up or whatever." It's just, I tell them I'm just like you. I just have a different job than you do. That's all there is, and plus, it doesn't do you any good to be an asshole.
Yes.
You're sure not going to pick up any more listeners that way on your radio shows.
That's right.
And like when I come up here, we talk about Carol's Cozy here in Brooks, Minnesota, and in this whole area, Brooks, Plummer, Oakley. We were in Trail last night. I love this area. My great-grandparents homesteaded in Terrebonne, just down the road here.
Yeah.
And I love coming up here because people know me. A lot of the people here know me by my real name.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't have to be John. But that's a different story.
Well, I mean, in a way, it's your story because it's the truth. I mean, you live your normal life. When you're like growing up and everything, or the areas that you're raised, and then you come here, or then when you get your career, or job or whatever that and then if you're able to give yourself an alter ego.
Well,
you
I
know,
didn't give it to myself. Well, I did, but I was told that I had to change my name.
Oh.
Well, because back then, in the heyday of our rock radio station that I was on, we were number one in the valley for years and years. But think about it. Back then, before cell phones and things, your name was in the phone book. Remember phone books?
Oh, absolutely.
If somebody wanted to creep the DJ, all they got to do is look up his name in the phone book.
Yep.
And so you had to go by different names.
Sure.
And I just did a little word wrangle with my first and middle name, and it just went from there. But, I haven't been in radio now for a few years, except for just doing sports play-by-play. But everybody still knows me as that name, so I just kept it when I went into the podcast business.
So do you think it's also like protection for yourself, kind of like in your family, kind of, if you have a different name?
I guess it could, but my wife is very active in my social media and what I do.
Yeah.
I'm an announcer at racetracks and things like that, and she's always with me.
Yeah.
So they know we have two different last names.
Sure.
And the people that really know us realize, well, she's using our real last name.
Sure.
And he's not.
Yeah.
But
it's like, are they a couple? Are they really married? Are they brother and sister? What's going on here?
With social media, if you want to find out something about something, it's so easy to do anyway.
Oh, of course. Well, when I found out your real name, I was kind of surprised, Then I started making those Raymond jokes, I'm sure you've heard some of those
before. I'm a Métis French Canadian, so I fit right into the Brooks
absolutely.
Plummer area. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So let's talk about your early days from your pre-radio days. Like, what was life like growing up in the small communities and stuff? I'm sure.
I grew up between Crookston and Gently.
Okay.
And then I had everything. I was racing snowmobiles and motorcycles before I even knew how to ride a bicycle. And then my mom and dad got divorced, and we moved back to my mom's hometown, Thief River Falls, and that's what I consider my hometown. That's where I really grew up and graduated, and went from having everything I wanted and all the toys to having absolutely nothing.
Sure.
And it was weird. I was a jock. I played hockey. I was a runner. I played football. Co-captain of the track team my senior year, and I thought about I wanted to go in the military and fly helicopters.
Yeah.
And then we took that career aptitude test, I think my junior year in high school, and my number one on the list was law enforcement, and number two was entertainment.
Oh, yes.
And I was into music. I'd been playing bass guitar a little bit, and I love music and all the sports and everything. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to apply for radio and television school, and I got accepted. But I started 6 days after I graduated from high school. I had to go right back to school. And that was it. That was the bug. I think the very first day I started class out at Northland, I think the very first day I went on the air.
Oh,
yeah. I can still remember my voice was probably 8 octaves higher than it is now. I was so freaking nervous. It was crazy.
So you had those butterflies and everything, and you just wanted to do a good job because this is what you wanted to do.
Yeah. And now we're talking in front of thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and it's no big deal. So
that's when the shyness kind of went away, or you probably were never shy at all.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever had it. There's times I get nervous.
Yeah.
There's. I did a Republican caucus thing a couple of years ago where I was the only media there, and I was also the moderator and the MC, and I was really nervous there. That was a little out of my wheelhouse, especially when you put me in a suit and tie.
Oh yeah,
hat and shaven.
You look totally different. Yeah. You're like, who's this guy? Is this a rich guy?
And they don't realize who I am until I start talking. And I go, oh God.
So, did you have any siblings or anything like that you?
I got a sister. She's down in Alabama, right along Floribama, a beautiful place down on the Gulf.
You say Floribama?
They call that area Floribama.
I never heard of that before.
It's right by Florida.
Oh, it's like between the border of the states or whatever.
They call that area Floribama.
I thought it had to do like the Alabama.
And she's in Fairhope.
Okay.
And she's a class younger than I am. Christy, hello, Christine. And I had a younger brother, Frankie, was killed in 1990, 89. He was 20 years old.
Okay.
But that's it.
Okay.
My mom still lives at Thief River. I live outside of East Grand Forks, Minnesota, right connected to Grand Forks.
But I mean, like, did you guys do anything like what? I mean, growing up together, did you have any fun things you like to do together, like as siblings, or was there too much of an age gap?
No, but my sister was a lot different than I am. I was so involved in the sports, and so was she. She was a really good volleyball player, and then got in a head-on car crash.
Oh.
And messed up her neck pretty bad, and so she had to give up the sport. I kept on, but she went to school right away at university. Well, I was already done with radio. I got in and out of my radio so fast. I was working right away, and so she went to university and then left early to go be a nanny in Connecticut, and then started working for a precious metal exchange company, and then she went to work for Penske.
Okay.
And now she has worked for like GM, Isuzu, whatever, for probably 25, 30 years. And
wow.
So she's moved from Connecticut to Arizona, back to Connecticut, and now she's down in Alabama. So so we didn't. I mean, growing up, I had an aunt and uncle that had a resort up in Ontario, so we did stuff like that, and we'd go to the lake once in a while. But no, my mom, I'd schlep us to my dad's house for a month in the summer, or I'd go stay with friends in Crookston. But we just didn't do a whole lot. My brother was a little bit younger, so he had his own set of friends. But yeah, we were all just busy doing our own thing.
I suppose when your brother got killed, I mean, that really kind of changed everything in your life, I'm sure, that moment.
It did. Well, it changed for my mom, especially.
Okay.
She struggled for a long time, but it is what it is,
Sure.
He was a good kid, and I'm glad I got really good memories of him.
What do you think life would have been like had he not have got killed?
What
do you think he would have done radio with you too?
No. He wasn't that kind of guy. We probably would have beat each other up a couple of times, and I would have beat him up.
Would he have went hunting with you?
Yeah, he would have.
Okay.
He probably would have been fishing too. Of course, I fish a ton, but he would have. He was into that stuff.
How about your sister? Was she into that too? Kind of like her?
No, not really.
Okay.
Maybe if it's like deep sea, where it's sunny and 85 and you're on a big boat, it might be. But she likes to have fun. She travels a ton. So.
What was your parents like?
Dad was hot rods.
That's
what he did. He built and painted and customized cars. So he had cars and motorcycles and boats and snowmobiles, and my mom was just my mom raising 3 kids, single parent. When my dad died, he had about 300 cars.
Oh wow!
He had yards, lots.
Okay.
Actually, lots, like junkyard lots, full of stuff. It was pretty crazy.
That sounds crazy.
He had one building with just motors and blowers and all these carburetors and.
Wasn't that kind of what got you into cars too a little bit, kind of like that, or no?
The opposite. I love racing. My dad doesn't. My dad was the kind of guy that, I spend my whole life building these cars to make them look good, and you idiots go out and wreck them.
Oh, sure.
The thing is we don't race that kind of car anymore, Dad. You build your own race car. It starts with a frame. But it was just a different deal. He didn't really like racing, and I could watch 2 kids race tricycles in their driveway, and I'll probably stop and watch. I love racing. I started early.
We know.
Motorcycles when I was 5 or 6. And just stuck with it ever since. And I could legitimately probably I could make my living in the summer just working at racetracks.
Do you think you could actually race yourself?
Oh yeah, I had a race car, and I bought a car, and I was going to take a year to build it while I was helping another guy with his car who was racing. And then I met my wife, and my wife was a smarty pants and decided she was going to go over to school and get her PhD. And we were getting pretty serious, so we made the decision. I sold the race car before I got it built. And she had told me, when I get my first job after my PhD, I'll buy you another race car.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. Fast forward a while because of because of the flood and things like that in '97. Things got delayed, but I picked up my gig at River City Speedway in Grand Forks, and so pretty soon I'm having fun doing trackside announcing and behind the pits scenes, behind the scenes guy. And one day, my wife graduated, got her PhD, got a job in Grand Forks, and one day she just said, "It's time," and I'm like, "For what?" She said, "Well, I told you I'd buy you a race car. What do you want?"
Oh wow!
kind of just went, I think I'm good. I'm good.
Wow.
A lot of money, a lot of commitment, a lot of time.
Sure.
Right now, I'm still at the track every week. I'm guaranteed take-home money every time I go. I don't break anything, and I have a great time.
Oh, that's good.
I've made a ton of friends in the racing world, and so right now I wouldn't have it any other way. People ask me all the time, when are you going to retire? When are you going to put me in the Hall of Fame? That's when I'm going to retire, and that's my goal. I want to keep going until I get into the Hall, Frankie.
So when you first started doing radio, or maybe let's say like your first few, I mean, you've always told us the show or told us the story about like your first few episodes or your first few days when you had to smoke and all that stuff. But like after you did all that stuff, when did you realize that you finally were very comfortable in this setting?
I knew within 2 years of back then it was kind of a game, you know. The rule of thumb was you get hired by somebody, you got to at least put in a year unless they fire you. What I did growing up, especially between like my hometown stations.
Yeah.
I was working at one, and pretty soon you get a phone call, hey, how would you like to go out for lunch? You know, and pretty soon you're lunching with the guy that owns the other one, and before you know it, you're working for them. And it did that, but I had people coming after me early in my career, so I knew I was going to be okay, and I was already bored with it. I would set my goals, and I'd meet my goals, and then I would move on and go somewhere else. But
sure.
So I really thought I was still really, really young. I thought about the Army again. And I went and talked. I wanted to go into Armed Forces Radio.
Okay.
I had it narrowed down to Japan or Germany with the recruiter, and I was really, really getting close to signing the deal, and I got in a plane crash.
Oh, that's okay.
And so I was laid up for a long, long time, and the Army no longer wanted anything to do with Jon Roberts after
if the
that,
crash wouldn't have happened, you wouldn't have had your almost La Bamba moment or whatever.
Probably, and you know, and then it was funny because then you fast forward, and again I meet my wife. Well, my wife did 12 years in the military, and so she lived in Germany. Yeah. And we got to go back and visit her house where she lived in Han, Germany, and things like that. So it was pretty cool, but. You know, everything's got its reason for what happens. All four of us in that airplane. In fact, my one best friend just walked in over there. He was in the crash with me.
Okay.
We shouldn't be here. You know, so there's a reason. And, it's funny how that all works. So yeah. I didn't
so you're saying it was just almost as bad as almost like if somebody got killed.
It was, yeah. I mean, I laid in bed for 7 months, and I went to physical therapy for 6 days a week for another 7 months. I had to basically learn how to walk again.
Okay.
Poor guy over there broke both his legs, his arm, and he was all burned up. And
Jesus.
Took 160 stitches to the face and head.
Wow.
Yeah, it was shitty.
I would say, well, what happened to the pilot and everybody else?
Really bad injuries.
Okay.
The one girl in the back seat came off the best.
Huh.
She was okay, but the pilot was really bad.
Well, what really caused this in the first place? Was it bad weather? Was it just like...
it was a wind shear, is what I think, and a crappy airplane.
Oh.
The the FAA can do whatever they want. They can decide whatever they want, and normally in a situation like this, they call it pilot error because everybody's dead.
Yeah.
They're all dead, so they can say whatever they want. But it took them a couple years to list it. And they listed it as pilot error, but I don't think it was. They weren't there. And just a bunch of shady shit happened afterwards.
So from the time that you took off till the time it happened, how long did it take?
20 minutes.
So it's almost just like the day the music died, almost like.
Yeah, it was.
Kind of like.
Yeah, we were out in the middle of nowhere.
Plane too, I suppose.
Yeah, it was about 30 below zero. We were in the middle of nowhere. The only thing is nobody knew we were out there.
Well, why the hell were you even on a plane in the cold weather anyway?
I was a pilot, so anytime he got a chance to go flying, he went
flying. Yeah, but not when it's below zero.
You still drive your car when it's below zero.
Yes, but you're not going to fly in the airplane in a small plane like that when you know that you never know what could happen.
Yeah.
I mean, if you didn't learn from the day the music died, well, then that's your moment, I guess, when it comes to that.
You're probably right.
That's why I don't fly. I'm too afraid. People can make fun of me all they want for it, but it's like I keep my feet on the ground. And I know they say that you can get in an accident doing anything, but hey,
Yeah, you can. I mean, you could fall in the shower and break your neck.
Yeah,
It happens.
Of course. So after all these years that passed, and now you've done lots of other things too, other than this radio. But was there ever a moment in your life where you just figured that, or you thought radio was the only thing you're ever going to do, or did you have your sights set? Well, I want everything, so I'm going to do everything.
I got out of it for a little while.
Okay.
When I moved to Grand Forks, and I was working construction. And pretty soon I worked my way up to a foreman, and the program director at the iHeart station in Grand Forks, I had grown up with him in my hometown. And here, next thing you know, he's a program director. Well, he's kind of seeked me out. He heard I was living in Grand Forks.
Oh, sure.
And so he reached out to me and asked me if I'd ever think about getting back into radio again.
Sure.
Part-time.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, why not? Money is money, and you going, okay, you make your radio money, whatever. But and pretty soon it only took a matter of about a year, and I had a daily show. On the number one rock station, but it was all, I was voice tracking it. So
Yeah.
I was working construction anywhere from 5 to 15 hours a day, and then I'd go right to the studio and I'd record, and so you always tried to you had to stay a day ahead. Well, it was almost 12 years. I worked 7 days a week, 12 straight years.
Sure.
Doing that. And then once I got too beat up after 20 some years of doing the construction stuff, I decided full-time radio again, and the opportunity came up where I could quit doing the construction stuff and just focus on radio, and that's what I did. And then it just got to where, my big radio, ginormous corporation, overextended itself, and they had to make nationwide cuts, and I happened to be one of them. So they offered me a job back after a while, and I just declined.
So before all this stuff happened, because there's a big gap between when you finally realized that this was something that you really wanted to do, but before iHeart changed and everything and blah blah blah. What's one of your favorite moments from just doing the KJ108 stuff?
You could go anything from we do the Miracle Maker Radiothon for 2 days. My old morning show partner, Dangerous Dave, and I doing some of these interviews after doing 2 12-hour live shows, 12 hours straight.
Yeah.
You're punch drunk, and you get these happy ending stories where you break down and you bawl like a baby.
Oh.
I mean, you can consider that a great moment. Being on stage, introducing bands like Foreigner or Kiss, or
kind of the perks that go with the job.
Yeah. And getting to party with some of these guys. I've got to meet a ton of people, and it's fun. I mean, it's fun, but people only see that part of it,
Well, you're Jon Roberts. You're not Robert Raymond when you're in these situations. You're somebody different.
Yep.
You go by your stage name, so people expect that this guy's gonna be very full of hype, and excitement.
I mean, it's just the way I am, though. I mean,
yeah.
And to be honest with you, there's some concerts that I was forced to go to that I really didn't want to, and I'm glad they forced me to, because I came out a bigger fan.
Oh yeah, absolutely. More appreciation to music, and that's
my music taste it's all over. I mean, I like classic rock. I like some of the new rock, but I could listen to bluegrass all day too.
I'm sure you're just like me when it comes to, or maybe you're different, but I would like to assume that you're kind of like me when it comes to the taste of music when it comes to top 40 versus album filler stuff, deep tracks.
I don't know if I can name a top 40 band.
Well, I'm talking you listen to the whole, if you're listening to an album, you're not just listening for the hits. You're listening because you want to listen to the whole thing.
Yep.
And that's how I'm kind of like that. I always talk about deep tracks all the time. Yeah.
That's how we grew up.
Yeah.
You're gonna put a cassette in or an 8-track.
Yeah, you're gonna listen to the whole thing. Yep. That's right.
Yep.
And even if there's a song that's never been on the radio, who cares? That's just as important as the song that is on the radio.
Right.
But when you Because I'm sure in your Kenya 108 days, or even like if you did classic rock or whatever, were you ever just sick and tired of playing the same stuff all the time?
All the time. Let's face it. I mean, radio makes songs.
Yeah.
Radio ruins songs.
Yes.
There were, especially if you're working for top 40 or something like that. Oh my God, you're hearing that same song 5, 6, 7 times a day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
I can go back to my old country radio days when Hank Williams Jr. came out with "There's a Tear in My Beer." Remember, because they put the video of old Hank Sr.
Yes, that was like CGI before CGI.
Yep, and that just ruined it for me because
it ruined it. Okay.
There's songs. Any bar band, they're all going to play old-time rock and roll.
Yeah.
They're all going to play Moni Moni.
Oh,
they're going to play these songs that they just beat the death out of them, and I can't stand. God darn it, if you're gonna do that, play some of their other hits because they had a lot of other songs that.
Or going too deep into their catalog and say, hey, this is a song that never was big, but
all day long without having to listen to old time rock and roll.
I mean, tell me a cover band that ever plays deep tracks at all.
Right.
Nobody.
Yeah. Right.
That's sad,
To me, deep tracks are like classics.
Yeah.
To other people, they're. So I don't know.
It's just because you're a music lover, and there's a lot of people that like music, but those are the ones that if you ask a normal or an average person, will just say they're like, well, let's do whatever on the radio. It's like those are people that probably eat plain cheese pizza and drink the same type of beer that's probably cheap and whatever. And you're a man of style. You probably drink the best beer, probably, huh?
No, I drink Busch Light. That's what I'm trying to get your attention here.
Well, it's only 10:30 in the morning there, sir.
Yeah, we're deer hunting. This is vacation for us, Frankie.
Okay.
And all my buddies are over there getting ready to eat, so
yeah,
gotta eat something. There's a pork chop in every can, right?
Absolutely. Well, like I guess when it comes to now your later days and doing the stuff on Grand Forks Best Source, that's you've had your ups and downs with the source too, and now do you think you're at a place where everything's getting kind of the way you imagine it to be?
Well, it's getting there after almost 5 years. Our product is pretty cool compared to when we started. Things have changed a lot since we started. People are at first. The hard part was getting people my age into a podcast because I'm social media stupid. I'm computer illiterate. I can do all the voice stuff and line up shows and interviews and all that, but to make it all look good takes, a pretty good team. And with Paul and Dale, they do a great job. Katie helps out a little bit, and we've got different hosts for different shows, including you and your show. But it's getting there. We're from what I do, from being an on-air personality on radio for all those years. Now I'm a talk show guy now, and I'm not a talk show fan.
Yeah. Well, that's where you and I differ.
And now, my wife loves talk show too. I don't. But now that's what I do, and now I'm thrust into way more of the political stuff, and I mean, I'm rubbing elbows with county commissioners and senators, and legislators and things like that. But we just had a county commissioner who was out here hunting with us this weekend.
Okay.
But it's changed a lot. But I like it because I can say what I want because I'm co-owner of the company, and I know what I can and cannot say. I love taking the opportunity to call somebody out on something when nobody else has the guts to, and knowing that nothing can happen because it's the truth. I really like doing that because when I was working for iHeart, ginormous,
you couldn't say what you wanted to say. Yeah, you had to censor yourself.
They still own the rights to everything I said there.
Yeah, you've said that before. I know that. Now, so with being owner of the company and everything, or with you and Paul, like, do you feel like you are the best source as far as like in Grand Forks, as far as the best place to not only do podcasts, but for people to find you and when you do your show, when you do your morning news and all that stuff, because it's a different format than just doing radio, obviously, and you're doing like almost like sometimes like your morning show is like shorter,
Yep.
and then you do other shows that are longer.
Yep.
Like, do you feel like you're pretty much fully committed?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah. And our motto is we started out with giving Grand Forks Best Source, working on giving Grand Forks an identity again.
yes.
And now we're Grand Forks Best Source. We got Grand Forks their identity back, and we see that because there's nothing local anymore,
right.
except for one radio. One radio company is pretty local. The rest, except for the morning shows, aren't. The newspaper isn't. It's a part-time out of Fargo. Our TV station is no longer. They claim it's Fargo Grand Forks, but you could watch it. They won't even have the weather forecast on for Grand Forks. And so that's what we do. We focus on. We don't even say the F word on our shows, which is Fargo. Fargo's got enough coverage. We don't talk. We've only in 5 years, almost 5 years, we've had 2 people from Fargo as a guest on a show. One was my son because he runs Fargo Youth Baseball. The other one was a hockey coach from Grand Forks who was coaching the Fargo.
Okay.
So otherwise, we wouldn't even.
Sure.
We don't even mention Fargo.
Okay.
Basically, as far as you would drive to go to work from Grand Forks, so we will mention stuff like Brooks or Thief River.
Yeah.
And, out to, as far as like Reynolds and Larimore and Devil's Lake, but no Fargo.
So when it comes to that sort of thing, then why is there no? The Grand Forks is a big city.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of people. There's nobody else that's doing the same thing that you're doing. That's really like competition, like real competition.
Everybody thinks they can do a podcast.
Yeah,
I mean, they're doing it all over the place. We learned early that people have came in and started with us because we do lease our studio out.
Yes,
and we will produce and host. We learned that people would come in and were trying to figure out how we were doing it and then going and trying to do the same thing on their own. So we kind of learned nobody takes pictures in there anymore, unless you're taking a group photo of being on one of our shows, that's fine, but we don't let people take a lot of pictures of our gear and how we do things anymore. But because I have people every day that walk into our studio and go, wow, this is legit.
Oh, I remember when I saw it the first time.
This isn't like, Bill's down in his mom and dad's basement.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Well, it surprised me because I figure it'd be in my mind it looked bigger watching it on camera than when you go in there. It's like a small little space. It's almost the size of this little area here.
Cram it full of lights and all the stuff we have in there too. It makes it seem pretty small.
Yeah, but it's been really helpful, and and I feel like it has a good future as far as like longevity and everything.
Oh yeah.
So since you've been doing this and I guess now that you've been with me on Renegade Radio, what have you learned from being on my show? Because I know I've asked you a few times and you give me answers or whatever, but now that we're doing an interview with you, like you've been on for over a year, even though you missed a couple shows or whatever. But what have you learned from being on a show like that?
Freaks me out the good guests you get. I mean, we have had some pretty cool guests.
You've been a part of some really good shows.
I have, and the cast you have is. I would really love to go meet these guys, face to face. I'd love to see I'd love to meet all of these guys. Tony, Anthony, and I think it'd be cool if we could all get together somewhere. But I've just learned that. No matter what we talk about, it seems like it's always a good time.
Yeah.
I think we're all kind of the same. We all have pretty close to the same damn sense of humor.
Oh, absolutely.
I think we all kind of feed off each other pretty good. And I would imagine some of these guests that they get on, they've just got to feel overwhelmed because we can just bombard them with, we look like the old Brady Bunch caption.
Yeah.
Us all up there. It's like a big tic-tac-toe board with all of us in there.
Sure.
You do all of this out of your place here in Brooks, Minnesota. Population,
pretty much.
Is it 117?
Probably.
Put it on my tab. I'm not sure she did. Thanks. It just proves you anybody can do this stuff.
Yeah.
And your stuff, and it looks legit too. It's not sketchy. I mean, granted, we're sitting in a bar restaurant right now in Brooks, Minnesota, and you're doing this show with your cell phone.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes this cool.
Oh, absolutely.
We've been talking about how could we ever make this work, and it just happened to work where I'm here hunting. And
well, I was afraid it'd be too much crowd noise, but it's not that bad, I guess.
Well, these table here is pretty crazy.
But old ladies, anyway. But yeah, and that's the thing about it. That's why I was so surprised, that you, as busy as the guy that you are, would be okay with finding time to because even though you knew me a little bit, but you didn't know me that well, and then you trusted me with the chance, and then look at where we are now.
Well, it's all good so far.
Well, I'm glad to have you on, and I'm glad that we got to do this interview.
When you asked me, I'm like, what?
Well,
I just like to interview you. I'm like,
I figure everybody has a story, and there's a lot of stories that you haven't told. So
we could sit here all day with the stories.
Oh, absolutely.
But, no, I've enjoyed every. I've been in media business for over 4 decades now, and it's fun, and it's weird because I need to start thinking about stepping back a little bit here. Eventually, I'm pushing 60 now.
Well, I was just going to ask you, the last question, what's your legacy, to sum it up, kind of.
I'm lucky that my body's falling apart because of everything that's happening, but I'm lucky I can still make some money with my voice. Yeah. So I don't need it, and I want to keep doing that as long as I can. I put it to somebody this way one time. I kind of want to remain relevant.
Sure.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But maybe not as relevant as. I don't need to have my nose so deep into everything as much as I do now. It'd be nice to still,
Absolutely.
And I after doing it for as long as I have, I just, when I'm done, I hope people remember me.
Oh, we definitely will remember you. I'll never forget all the times that we've had together, because I want Renegade Radio to last for a while, no matter who's a part of it. I just feel like, one day we're going to get that moment where somebody says, well, we can't do it no more.
Right.
And then that's going to change everything. But I still want to be a part of it, because this is an original creation, and I don't want it to disappear.
Right.
It's the only idea that I've had. It seems like it doesn't work. So, well, anyway, John, I do appreciate you taking the time and coming all the way from Grand Forks just to do this interview, not for hunting or nothing or anything.
Yeah. I even wore orange vest for you.
Yeah, I almost kind of had that. I almost thought you were dressed like Marty McFly from Back to the Future if he was a hunter. All right, John. Well, I appreciate your time, and thanks for letting me interview you.